purchase organic food almost all the time. That's what I prefer to eat is organic food. But in the future, the bar is going to go up even higher. It'll be.
How long does it take to rid yourself of these things that once you start
Yeah.
on the path?
Yeah, great question. So how long does it take our body to rid ourselves of the contaminants from so many different sources? The body's always working at being able to do that. It's designed to be able to purify itself and cleanse itself very, very well. So, thank you. Okay, so let me answer this question, then we'll get started. So it's amazing, but here's what we're going to talk about tonight. It depends on the central nervous system state that your body is in. So if your body is under the state of stress and the state of survival, your body will struggle in being able to eliminate those toxins and impurities that you've been introduced to. Your liver won't work as well. Your kidneys won't work as well. Your spleen won't work as well. So what we need to be able to do, and I'm going to talk about this tonight, is we have to swing the pendulum from being predominantly in the sympathetic state far too much, far too often, and far too long. And this is what lifestyle medicine is all about. We need to swing the pendulum so that we're in the parasympathetic state more of the time. And when we do that, everything in our body works. It's miraculous how beautiful our body has been designed. It really is. And we have to work with the body, not against it. And we have to start paying attention to our design and not simply our pleasures. How many of you would think that it's a good thing to raise a child and allow your child to have as many pleasures as they see fit? Would that child get into trouble if you did that? Absolutely. So a long time ago, I learned something from Dr. Dennis Waitley, that on the east coast of the United States, we have the Statue of Liberty. But what's missing in this country on the west coast is the statue of responsibility. You see, freedom doesn't come without responsibility. So all of us are responsible for our own health, our happiness in our lives. So it's up to each and every one of us to do everything to optimize that. And this is when we can do that, then the body can start to cleanse itself, and it will do that automatically. And it will do it with great ease, and it's amazing when you eat the right foods and you drink the right water and you have the right thoughts and all the wonderful things that really make your body work really well. So all of it comes together. Thank you for that question. Pedro, are we ready to go? Are you recording? Yes. Okay, good. Well, do you want to say a few words? Señor Elder.
Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you again, Ruben. He'll introduce himself more in a second. Thank you all for coming. We've been enjoying this series for weeks now, and we still have a number of weeks to go. So if you're looking for a church family, feel free to try us out, check us out. We have our worship services on Sabbath morning, Saturday mornings at Bible study at 10 a.m., church service at 11. And we will love on you and connect with you and help you in your walk with Jesus. So we are thrilled to have Ruben partnering with us on these health seminars. And I know it's already made a huge impact. Ruben has made a huge impact on my family and our health and in multiple different ways at different times over the years. So we appreciate it. So I will turn the time over to you, Ruben.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's get started. I want to start off this session today with a personal story. So I was a collegiate swimmer. I played semi-pro basketball. I was in shape. I could run up and down a basketball court for a couple of hours at a time, not a problem. And then I moved up to Northern California after I finished my master's in public health. And then October 9th, 1990, 2 years later, after I moved up here again, I pushed off to intercept a pass on the basketball court, and I heard a loud pow. Didn't sound right. And it sounded sort of like the backfire of a car. That's how loud it was. And in about 2 seconds later, searing pain ensued. My left Achilles was completely ruptured. Snapped it right off. It went all the way up to here. I had emergency surgery the next day. The surgeon, who happened to be a friend of mine, he said, Ruben, it was so badly frayed on each end, it was like spaghetti for 1.25 inches on each end. And he said, it was so bad, we had to splice it all into another tendon. We couldn't attach it. And so I asked, will I be able to play basketball again? And he said, don't even think about it. You're not going to be able to even walk normally again if you're lucky. So that was devastating for me. Basketball is like therapy for me. It is dear to my heart. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. Sports and schools, what kept me away from the gangs and the violence and the drugs. So to not play basketball was devastating, and I became depressed. Now, what does a hardworking, responsible, intelligent, depressed person do when they are depressed? Eat. What kind of food does a depressed person eat? Not vegetables. No. Not vegetables and not a garden, no. So, and it doesn't have anything to do with intelligence, does it? Not one bit. When you don't care, you don't care. And I didn't care. Now, I was a very responsible person taking care of everybody else. I took care of the people that I worked for. I went into hospital administration and I started work. I took care of the people that I worked with. I took care of my staff. I took care of those nurses. I took care of the department heads. I took care of the doctors. I took care of my family. I took care of my swimmers. I took care of everybody else except me. Now, when you're depressed, when I was depressed, I did what any depressed person will do. I ate. Yes, that and much more. Because it's very easy these days to get processed foods, junk foods, all those kinds of foods that really pack it on. And I was working at Kaiser Hospital in South Sacramento. I was the assistant administrator at that time. And I would leave my office, and I kid you not, I would leave at 5 o'clock, and I would stroll into the hospital gift shop every day at 5. And I would get my fix for the afternoon. Now, it wasn't an actual injection, but it might as well have been, because it was the large Mountain Dew. I didn't play small. It was the 6 Oreo cookies, the king-size bag of M&Ms. I went back and forth between peanut and regular, and a large Three Musketeers bar. That was my standard issue package every single day. And the rest of my diet was not much better. And I did that for a little over 4 years. And of course, I put on over 55 pounds than you see me today. I was 55 pounds heavier, and I had issues. My blood pressure was 170 over 110. That's not good. Any nurses here? Okay, is that a good blood pressure, Peggy? No. That's serious. Okay, my cholesterol level was 270. Anybody know what that is? Not good. My blood sugar was 128. Oh, that's not good either. Yeah, I had issues. And my back hurt, my knees hurt, nothing was working. I didn't feel good. I didn't sleep well. And the doctor told me, you better get your act together. I didn't care. And then in January 1995, I was sitting in a chair at the pool about to coach my swimmers. I was sitting at the coach's table. And my friend Mike, an Olympic swimming coach who I was working with, he walked up to me that day. And he looks at me kind of quizzically like this, and he says, puts his hand on the table, says, "Getting a little chubby there, Ruben," and turns and walks away. That infuriated me. I'd never heard Ruben and chubby in the same sentence until that day. How many of you know that it's been infuriating from time to time when you actually look at yourself and you realize you're not the same person you used to be? Right? And so I had to confront myself. And by the way, when he said that, I had a buttermilk donut in my hand. My friend Esther knows the love of donuts, don't we, Esther? We know about the love of donuts because you see, my friend Ben here, he used to own one. And so the thing is, I used to love my donuts. Oh my God, I loved them. And I wanted to throw it at Mike, but I didn't want to waste the donut. So I ate the donut remorsefully. And the next morning, I had to face the man in the mirror, and that's me. And I realized what I had done. I had created this myself. It wasn't mom, it wasn't dad, it wasn't my ex-wife. No, it was me. I did this to myself. And I proceeded to do what I knew I needed to do. And I tell people this all the time. Just because you know what to do makes no difference. Knowledge is not power. It's the application of knowledge that gives us power. I don't care how smart anyone is. It's what you do with that intelligence and that knowledge. That's what matters. And life is about learning. It's about growing. It's about expanding. It's about being able to use that information to make a difference. And it's being able to make a difference for others. Yeah, I'm passionate about that. But I had to learn how to make a difference for me. Now, I learned a lesson a long time ago. When I was 15 years old, I became a lifeguard. There's a powerful lesson in the training of becoming a lifeguard. There's a rule that every lifeguard has to learn, must absolutely know, irrevocably, must know this rule. What's the rule that every lifeguard must know and practice? Thank you. Thank you. Save yourself first. In a lifeguard training class, we spent about 60 to 70% of the time learning how to save ourselves. To escape. To escape. To escape. Because if you let somebody clutch onto you and hold onto you, it's a double drowning. And you're of no use to anybody. I had to go back to that. I had to remember I needed to take care of me. So I started to make the changes. And I started getting off the sugar and getting off the sodas and getting off all the bad stuff and started eating much healthier and no more processed foods. I started making some changes. And I did it one habit at a time. And it took me about a year and I lost all the weight. And I've been healthy and fit ever since. And I still have to work at it. I still have to work at it. I have had challenges. In December, this past December, I strained my right Achilles playing basketball. No, basketball is not a problem. No. I'm one of the oldest guys playing in the league, and I still love it. And it's amazing I still get to play. But I know I need to take care of myself. So I've been nursing this injury for 4 months, and now I'm starting to get back out on the court again. It's wonderful to be able to do that, but that's a challenge. Life is filled with challenges. Life isn't always rosy. It's not. We love the movie The Wizard of Oz. No, it's not that. So we have to be realistic about the challenges that we're going to face as human beings, and we need to have a plan that actually works. It's not simple. It's not simple. Well, actually, it is simple, but it's not easy. It's simple, but not easy. So what I'm going to share with you tonight is what I've been sharing with people for many, many years. And that's a four-prong approach to be able to empower you to get on the right track, to get started. There's much more, but I want to get everybody off on the right track. I've used this repeatedly for years and years and years. I've been practicing this for over 42 years now. So my name, MPH, does not stand for the speed that I drive my car, just so you know. So it stands for Masters in Public Health, and I got my degree from UCLA back in 1988. And then LMP stands for Lifestyle Medicine Professional. So lifestyle medicine is an entirely new specialty of the American Medical Association. So a little bit about it. It was founded in 2004. Lifestyle medicine is the use of evidence-based lifestyle therapeutic intervention, including a whole food, plant-predominant eating pattern, regular physical activity, restorative sleep, stress management, avoidance of risky substances, and positive social connection, and more. But we say that we want to use this as the primary modality. Let's use this approach first. Use this first. Delivered by clinicians trained and certified in this specialty to prevent, treat, and often reverse chronic disease. Wow, it's about time, right? It's about time. It's completely different than traditional medicine. It's completely different than any other form of medicine. Some of you may have heard about functional medicine. It's not that. You may have heard of all different kinds of things. This is radically different because what we believe is that the body needs to change its central nervous system state so it can heal itself. And the body does that very well if we give it the right conditions. So that's what lifestyle medicine's all about. So I address all 8 of these areas. In addition to those 6 that I mentioned before, I also include hydration and happiness. And I'm actually on the committee for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine on happiness. Yes! Also on lifestyle and performance medicine in the workplace, and also on health and wellness coaching. So I'm on 3 committees. So lifestyle medicine is, as Dr. Wayne Dysinger said, he's one of the founders, and he said, it's the foundation of healthcare. It really is, because 80% of healthcare today is addressing chronic disease. That's what it's doing. 80% of chronic disease is due to lifestyle, 20% due to genetics. In lifestyle medicine, we say that genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So if the disease is caused by lifestyle, the foundation ought to be a lifestyle treatment. And doesn't that make sense? Absolutely true. And this isn't new, by the way, because a lot of this we've actually been gleaning in the last 25, 30 years from the populations of the blue zones. How many of you have heard of the blue zones? Okay, if you haven't heard of the blue zones, I invite you to watch a documentary on Netflix called Live to 100 Years. Live to 100 Years. Fabulous documentary. And guess what? One of the 5 longest living groups of people on the face of the planet happen to be the Seventh-day Adventists living in Loma Linda. So it's really extraordinary. So we've learned a lot from the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda. So in October 2018, I became one of the first board-certified lifestyle medicine clinicians in the world. I couldn't be more proud. I finally found my tribe after 30 years of looking. Now, if you Google my name, yes, I did write this book on health back in 2011, Evolving Health, and it's endorsed by Dr. Neil Barnard. If you know who he is, he's the president of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. This on the right is the mock-up of my upcoming book. I have finished the editing of all the chapters. I'm just doing the brushing up. I can't wait. It's coming out soon. Can't wait. So I'm going to start sending the chapters to my son to do the layout and design. It's going to be coming out. We're going to do a book signing here. It's going to be awesome. So I get to live into this quote that Thomas Edison said well over 100 years ago, that the doctor of the future will give no medicine, none, but will instruct his patient in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. The word doctor means teacher. Isn't that interesting? And this is what lifestyle medicine is doing today. We are the future now. I also want you to know, I do all these seminars for free in the community. I'm not interested in making your money. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm here to make a difference for everybody's lives and to make a difference for your children and for your grandchildren and your future great-grandchildren. I'm here to make that difference. I believe that every single one of us as adults has a responsibility to leave this world in better shape than how we found it. How many of you agree with me? Absolutely. It's really important. I have 4 sons, 38, 34, 26, and 24. To me, it's important that we make the world a better place. I learned always to leave things in better shape than how you found them. And I think that's critically important. So I am passionate about eliminating chronic disease from the face of the planet and empowering every single person to live a thriving, healthy, happy life. And as a result, I do these seminars to make a difference for all of us and our future posterity. So I have absolutely no conflicts of interest whatsoever. I have no gimmicks, no schemes. I have no products to sell you. None of that. I have no commercials. I have no infomercials. I don't do any of that. I'm here to make a difference. And I've been doing that for 42 years now. So let's dive in. We got lots to cover. Please hold your questions to the end because I'm going to go fairly quickly, and I want to leave time for me to answer all your questions. I will not leave here until I've answered everybody's questions. So make sure you write down whatever questions you want to ask, and we'll go through that. So I'll go through this, a lot of material. You're going to get in a follow-up email, if you are new here, how many of you are here listening to me for the first time in this series? You've never listened to me before. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. Be sure that you fill out a yellow card with your name and your email address and your phone number, just in case I cannot read your handwriting, okay? So it's happened, trust me. And then I will be sending out a follow-up email to everybody. And that way you'll get all the slides from today. You'll get all the resources. You're going to get links. You're going to get recipes. Okay, I'm going to set you up. All right, about, let's see, 3,000? Will that be enough to get you started? Will that be enough? So I'll set you up with recipes. You're going to get all kinds of resources and plenty of information. That's a free gift that I'm giving all of you just for being here. All right, so let's dive in. I think Virgil was correct well over 2,000 years ago when he said this, that the greatest wealth that any of us can have truly is our health. And Aristotle added to this and said that a person who has their health has 1,000 wishes. A person who does not have their health has but only one wish. So the challenge that we face in this world that we live in is that far too many people displace the importance of health and they focus on making money. As the Dalai Lama said, man sacrifices his health in order to make money. And then he ends up sacrificing his money in a desperate attempt to try to recuperate his health. And then he is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he is never going to die, and then dies having never really lived. It's sad, but absolutely true, and it happens far too often. I've seen it. The reason we get into this predicament, my friends, is because of our beliefs. In psychology, which I taught at the university, at DeVry University for several years, beliefs are defined as thoughts trusted to be true. They are simply strongly held opinions. They are not necessarily the truth. Case in point, if you lived in Italy, like Galileo did well over 1,000 years ago, and if you believed that the earth was a sphere, what would they do to you? They imprisoned Galileo for believing that the earth was a sphere, because everybody else back then in Italy, in many parts of Europe, believed that the earth was flat. And in fact, some people still do. I met one the other day. Very fascinating. It's interesting because we get attached to our beliefs as being the truth. And what we don't realize is that every single one of us is conditioned to believe what we believe. Now that's kind of shocking. You think, I'm a rational, logical and intelligent adult. I am not conditioned by any outside forces. I have a very solid critical thinker. Think again. All right? There's enough of us here that are over the age that we can remember this. So see if you can remember, complete this jingle. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Okay, that ad hasn't played in 50 years. 50 years. 50 years. We're all conditioned to believe what we believe. Those of you who are younger, like a good neighbor. Okay, you're all conditioned, okay? So we have been conditioned by advertising and marketing firms for decades, over a century. They've known the psychology, and they learned the psychology of how to do this. These are actual ads that were actually being used in the print. So I thought I'd show you, okay? Nico Time cigarettes, the smooth taste pregnant mothers crave. Actual ad. Actual ad. No flies on me thanks to DDT. Wouldn't you want to believe that beautiful baby's face? The first product of the Bayer Aspirin Company. To relieve your headaches, heroin hydrochloride. Yeah. Yes, it was legal, and yes, it worked. And then let this magic mineral asbestos protect the buildings of your farm. Now we can't get rid of it fast enough. These were actual ads. So should we always trust the marketing? Should we believe everything that we see and hear? So there are many myths, and I bring this to our attention because there are many myths around weight and weight loss. There are many myths. Here are some of them. Everyone in my family is overweight. That's just how it is. I've heard all of these, by the way. Calories in equals calories out. That's another myth. Carbs turn to fat. Another myth. I need a high-protein, low-carb diet in order to lose weight. Another myth. I just haven't found the right diet yet. Another myth. I just have a slow metabolism. Another myth. I'll be overweight for the rest of my life. That's a very limiting self-belief. I'm overweight, but I'm healthy. Another myth. Everyone who's overweight overeats. That's also not true. And Diet Coke will help me to lose weight. I've heard that one many times. These are common myths. There's many others. There are lots of myths that are out there, and you'll listen to people, and they're saying these all the time, aren't they? How many of you have heard these, one or more of these before? Okay, yeah, absolutely. So consider, my friends, that we have all, every single one of us, have all been duped, hoodwinked, bamboozled, and deceived. Not intentionally, it's just how it is. So the invitation for all of you tonight is to question your beliefs. Just question them. Question them. Are they really true? Maybe not. Maybe not. So a little humor can actually help you to question your beliefs. I love this one. You're not retaining water, you're retaining cookies and ice cream and pizza. Well, it seems your weight is perfect. You just happen to be 11 feet too short. I love this one. Kathy decides to remain standing on the scale until she loses weight. I like this one. Bob devises the ultimate weight loss system with the mirror inside the refrigerator. I love that one. It's really good. And then I like this one. Everything slows down with age, except the time it takes cake and ice cream to reach your hips. This one, the older you get, the tougher it is to lose weight because by then, your body and your fat are really good friends. And then, does obesity run in your family? No, nobody runs in my family. So we got to have a sense of humor. There are so many beliefs that we've been duped into believing. This is my favorite one of these. I love this one. The correct way to weigh yourself. I can't believe I was doing this wrong all these years. So, in order to approach this, I'm going to ask you to be open-minded and to pay attention and heed the advice of one of my favorite teachers who taught me long ago in a galaxy far away. You must unlearn what you have learned. To be open-minded. Our purpose is not to lose weight tonight. It's not. In fact, I'm going to explain this to you right now. Thinking and focusing on losing weight is actually a horrible goal. It's the wrong goal. I learned long ago, if you focus on the negative, your brain doesn't know the difference, and it's going to focus on keeping that around. If you focus on losing weight, your brain says, focus on the weight, the weight, the weight, the weight, the weight. So it keeps you in a state of stress. So what we want to be able to do is not focus on losing weight, but rather to focus on building resilience, becoming healthy, fit, and strong. This is what we want to focus on. Life is never perfect for any of us. In psychology, we define resilience as the capacity to prepare for disruptions, recover from shocks and stresses, and adapt and grow from a disruptive experience, to prepare to get stronger. By the way, I wanted to show you this picture of my friend Nimai Delgado. So Nimai, I wanted to show you this picture because this is an example of protein deficiency, because Nimai has never had a speck of meat in his life. So I wanted you to see what protein deficiency really looks like, okay? That's an example. Really not. He's an extraordinary, extraordinary athlete. So here's what we're going to cover. A lot. I'm going to move quickly. The context for health, the contributing factors to obesity, what actually contributes to us becoming overweight, a four-prong approach for releasing excess body fat, what effective fat loss actually looks like when it's done correctly, and then how you can maintain a successful lifestyle change so you can keep it off. That's really important. How many of you have lost weight before, but you couldn't keep it off? How many of you have lost weight before? Yeah, it doesn't work. We want to be able to keep it off. So I'm going to share that with you at the very end as well. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. So the context for health, I cover this in many of my seminars. And it begins with a quote from my dear, dear advisor and professor from California Lutheran University. And he taught me this, and one day it was a comparative anatomy and physiology class, and he said, remember that all of life is in one of two states at any given moment. Either it is surviving, or it is thriving. And that's all there is. It was a little shocking when I heard that, and I couldn't get it. And then as Dr. Kaliski started to explain this, I was mystified. And I said, Dr. Kaliski, I'm just not getting this. And he said the words to me that he oftentimes said, just sit with it, Ruben, you'll figure it out. Oh, I hated when he did that to me. So I sat with this for 3 years. And then I'm in my first year of medical school studying embryology, which is the study of the embryonic period of human development. Peggy, you took that class, right? Patty, you took that class, right? You didn't take embryology? Oh, well, okay. Anybody here take embryology? It's amazing. It's amazing. Because it's the study for how the human body develops from the point of conception to the point where everything is there. And after that, we call it a fetus because everything is there. So this embryonic period is absolutely miraculous. It's extraordinary. It is a miracle that we turn out the way that we do. It really is. Now, early in our development, we all look like this, a ball of cells that all the cells look alike. You can't tell them apart. Eventually, this ball of cells gets bigger and bigger, and then it starts to fold inward on itself and forms this tube of cells that will become the first organ system to become distinguished and operational. This tube of cells is known as the neural tube. This neural tube gives rise to the central features of our brain, which we call the limbic brain. So the limbic brain includes the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the pineal gland, all of those central features, and it's all connected to the spinal cord. This, as a professor said, is the electrical system of the body. Very important to understand. It's just like a house. How many of you have ever done some design work with remodeling a house or anything else? So is it important to have the wiring go in before the sheetrock or after? Before, right? So the human body's the same way. The electrical wiring goes in early. It's the first thing. And it's got two currents, just like a basic electrical wiring. So the positive current of the human body is referred to as the parasympathetic state. So when it is turned on, it affects every organ system and every cell in the body in a particular way. The negative current of the human body is the sympathetic branch of the central nervous system. When it is on, it affects every organ system and every cell in the body in the opposite way. These two currents are polar opposite of each other. They are polar opposite of each other. This is critical to understand when it comes to gaining weight and losing weight. So what the professor said, once this system is turned on, it's on. The whole system is on. And it's on 24/7 till the day you die. That's it. It's always on. Now, what he said next got my attention. We can operate only in one state or the other at any given moment. We can go back and forth between the two, but at any given moment, we are either operating in the parasympathetic state or the sympathetic state, and that's all there is. And then I got it. I got what Dr. Kalitsky was trying to teach me, that we're either surviving in the sympathetic state or thriving in the parasympathetic state, and that's all there is. It made sense to me now. We're all wired this way. If you don't like the design, please take it up with the designer, not with me. I'm just the messenger, okay? But that's how it works for each and every one of us. When we're in the sympathetic state, we're responding to stress, any form of stress, physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual stress. Those are the four basic fundamental human energies. So if we're having any kind of stress in any of those arenas, physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, we are going to trigger being in the sympathetic state. It's going to happen. It's very primal how we function when we're in that state. Fight, flight, freeze, and fold we recognize, but as subtle as a perceived threat, any kind of threat, any kind of discomfort. Oh no, I got to deal with George at that meeting this morning. Oh my God, what am I going to do? That's enough to put us in the sympathetic state, the entire drive into work. Now, what we show in the research is also very clear. All chronic disease is the same disease. It just has different faces. Dr. Dean Ornish. All chronic disease is the same disease. It just has different faces. It depends on each person's genetics and environmental factors that triggers particular diseases to show up. All chronic disease is being in the state of dis-ease, the sympathetic state, far too much, far too often, and far too long. I'll say that again. All chronic disease is caused by being in the sympathetic state far too much, far too often, and far too long. That's the crux of it all. So our body is not designed to be in the sympathetic state all the time. It's not. If you look out at all the animals on the face of the planet, you'll notice animals predominantly live in the parasympathetic state, not in the sympathetic state all the time. Human beings, particularly in the Western culture, have far too much in the sympathetic state. What keeps us this way? 5 major factors. Dr. Stephen Loam talked about this. 1, here's the problem. When we're in the sympathetic state, when we have stress, our brain is wired to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. Yep. And guess what kind of food we're going to be seeking? Comfort food filled with fat, salt, and sugar. And the fast food industry, guess what? They actually have scientists that calculate the right ratio of fat, salt, and sugar, that the moment you eat their food, your brain says, give me more. And that's why they advertise all that stuff on all the ball games and all the movies. They know. And once they got you, they got you. I know, I've been there. I know what that's like. So, another thing that keeps us sick is our family pattern of lifestyle behaviors. We call it now epigenetics. We understand this much more deeply. It's not that diabetes runs in my family or being overweight runs in my family. No, it's your lifestyle that you learned from your family. That's what runs in your family. Another thing that keeps us sick is our government, because it's not really focused on health. We're the only industrialized nation on the face of the planet without universal health care. Did you know that? It's embarrassing. I can say that. I'm a public health professional, okay? So the thing is, it's really embarrassing. And we don't attend to the health of our people. We don't. We attend to managing symptoms very well. And that's the medical industry. The medical industry is all about managing symptoms and relieving pain and suffering as much as possible, but never addressing the root underlying cause. And I brought this little present today. For those of you who've not been in one of my seminars, I'll leave this up here for later. This is the textbook for nutrition that I got in medical school. Here it is. It's about 100 pages, beautiful colored, glossy pages. And it says nutrition, as you can plainly see at the top, right? But what most people don't see is what's at the bottom. What's at the bottom there?
Upjohn, a pharmaceutical company.
Upjohn is a pharmaceutical company. So I want you to connect the dots with me for a moment, like I did back then. So in 1983, I realized this, and I go, holy moly. Every single medical student in every single medical school in the entire United States is getting their information on nutrition from a pharmaceutical company. Conflict of interest, perhaps? So I'll leave this here. You want to take a look at it later. So these things keep us sick. They keep us sick. Lifestyle medicine is about swinging the pendulum from sympathetic all the way over to parasympathetic. When we go into the parasympathetic state, amazing things happen. Our body starts to heal itself. It's extraordinary. And we do a great job of restoring our natural design. In lifestyle medicine, we believe that the body needs to have a balance of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual energies in order to achieve well-being. We've known this for centuries, how important all these 4 fundamental human energies are. So this is what we attend to in lifestyle medicine. So major things that can influence our central nervous system state. The thoughts that we think, just our thoughts, that can put us in the sympathetic or the parasympathetic. The words that we speak, absolutely, can put us in the sympathetic or parasympathetic. If we complain or gossip, we're immediately in the sympathetic state. The actions that we take, if we let ourselves off the hook, we're supposed to go to the gym, and we don't, we're in the sympathetic state. The company we keep, if we surround ourselves with people with stinking thinking who are complaining and gossiping all the time, guess what state we're going to be in? Sympathetic. How many of you have ever been drained by a person on the phone? Yeah, absolutely. That happens. Okay? Or in person, too. It doesn't even have to be on the phone. And then the fifth thing is the food that we eat. And this is kind of surprising because most people never think that food affects our central nervous system. But I got news for you. Everything affects our central nervous system. So these are the 8 areas in lifestyle medicine that I focus on, making sure that people have a balance. Hydration, nutrition, physical activity, risky substance reduction, sleep, emotional well-being, stress management, healthy relationships, and happiness. So now, getting to the crux of the matter of having excess body fat. These are 2 body scans. 2 women, same height. One's 120 pounds, the other's 250 pounds, more than double. What we see here is that the person who has excess body fat, and I wanted to point out this one thing here, the body fat is not just underneath the skin. That's the yellow, that's the fat. It's also in all the organs. This is what we call visceral fat. And what we can't even see with this scan is that the fat is even perfused within all the muscle tissue as well. So it's everywhere in the body. It's not just in your belly. It's not just underneath the skin. So it's everywhere. So the thing is, it's rather prevalent, and it's throughout the entire body. Now, we've done some interesting research studies. This is from the University of Geneva, Switzerland. And what we did with mice, something very interesting. So we had one group of mice that they were skinny. They were skinny all the time. And we fed them a normal diet, but they still remained skinny. We had another group of mice, and they were normal. They were just normal body weight. We fed them a normal diet, and they stayed normal. Then we had another group of mice. We fed them a normal diet, but they needed to eat less. They were overweight. So we thought, okay, these mice are overweight. Let's feed them less. So we put them on a diet, a 10-day low-calorie diet. We cut their calories by 50%. 50%. How many of you have ever tried a low-calorie diet? You cut your calories way down. Okay, so that's what we did, 10 days. And then we put them on a normal diet for the 25 days after that. So the total time of the research was 35 days. After 35 days, which of these 3 groups had increased their body fat? This group is correct. We put them on a strict diet, cutting their calories by 50% for 10 days, and fed them normally after that. Oh, I'm just going to lose this weight, and then I'll go back to eating a healthy diet. How many of you have heard that line before? Okay, I've seen it far too many times. Okay, I've seen people go through drastic calorie reduction. They go on fasts. That's why I do not believe in fasts. They don't work. Okay, so this is what happens. So we want to stay away from that. So it's very interesting because the body is designed to conserve energy when it's stressed. Has anybody here ever been on a low-calorie diet and found it to be very pleasant, fulfilling, and a spiritual experience? Anybody? I never met anyone who has. So it isn't that. Another thing that really contributes to our ability to actually have a healthy physique is our microbiome. I talked about this last time, 2 weeks ago. We've been told it's calories in, calories out, but that's not true. It's not true at all. That's a complete myth. We took this 3 groups of mice with no microbiome, no bacteria in their gut, none. And then we transferred the bacteria from normal mice, and then these mice became an adoption of their normal phenotype. They looked normal. And then we took these underweight mice, we introduced the underweight microbiome to these mice, and they became underweight. And then we took these obese mice, and their microbiome infused it into these mice, and they became overweight. There's a lot more than meets the eye. It's not so simple as calories in, calories out. It doesn't work. That's a myth. When you look at the cellular level, every fat cell, this is a histological graph, histological picture. These are all fat cells. They look like swimming pools with very thin walls. All right, so those are all fat cells. Every fat cell in our body is approximately the same size. So each person's fat cells are the same size throughout their entire body. Liposuction will not make any difference whatsoever. Okay, it won't, just in that area. But all the rest of the cells stay the same. So the thing is, every cell is a reservoir of energy. Fat is the most condensed, storaged fuel. It is stored fuel in case there's an emergency. Now, a certain amount of fat we need, but when we get excess fat, it's in response to stress. So what we've learned is this. At the cellular level, and this is research that was done at Yale University back in 2004, we traced everything going in and out of the cells, and it was very fascinating. And we were looking at diabetics in particular, but it works for everybody. And what they were able to show, because we used to think that diabetes was caused by a problem out here at the surface of the insulin receptors. We've called diabetes insulin resistance. How many of you have ever heard that one before? Yeah, absolutely. So insulin resistance. So when I was in medical school, we were taught that the problem was here at the outside of the cell of the insulin receptor sites. That's the problem. And so we've been jamming in insulin and metformin and other kinds of drugs trying to get these insulin receptors to do their job. In 2004, we discovered something that completely shocked us. So they traced everything going in and out of the cells. And what they were able to show was all of these pools of fat on the inside of the cell. We call it a fancy name intramyocellular lipid, which is a fancy name for fat, which is basically oil. But a healthy cell is normally 90% water. Fat is oil. Do oil and water mix? No, they don't. And you can do this at home. You can take a glass and put oil and water in it. Where does the oil go? To the top. Absolutely. It creates an oil slick. What happens out in the ocean when an oil derrick breaks or a tanker leaks? You get an oil slick. But what happens to the marine life underneath? They belly up and die. They suffocate. And what we didn't see until 2004 is what's happening on the inside of the cell. When we have too much fat in the diet, the fat not only goes to the fat cells, but it also goes inside of all the cells. Everybody with me on that? This is a very important distinction here. It goes inside of all the cells. When we have too much fat in the diet, the fat gets everywhere. All the cells. And when it gets on the inside of the cell, it's now an oil slick on the inside of the cell. And it starts to attach on the underside of those insulin receptors. And it causes suffocation of the cell from the inside. We didn't see this before. This is new, but you won't hear about this on the news. You won't. This is groundbreaking. Dr. Neil Barnard did a 72-week clinical study to examine what would happen if we reduced the fat in diabetics so low that the oil slick started to go away. It was remarkable. It was remarkable because he was able to show clinically that people were able to completely reverse their diabetes. Not with a drug, not with a medication, just by changing their diet. So the biggest culprit that we face in the American diet is excess fat in the diet. We've got far too much of it. I love what Dr. McDougall says. The fat you eat is the fat you wear. Okay, in the United States, we lead the world in fat consumption, in case you didn't know. How many of you moved here from a different country? Anybody? You did? I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. Now, in the United States, this is from the USDA. Here's the challenge and the problem. Of all the food we eat, only 12% of it comes from plants, 25% from animal food, and here's a major consideration, a major problem, 63% from processed foods. That includes oils and fats, added fats and oils, a lot of it. Here's the graphic of showing how fat has increased in the American diet since 1909. The purple line here is for vegetable oils. Butter, lard, and margarine have actually gone down. It's vegetable oils. Olive oil, avocado oil, peanut oil, the list goes on. It's ridiculous. And you go into the supermarkets today, you have an entire aisle just for the oils. These oils are loaded with, they are processed food. They're not a natural food. And they cause chronic inflammation. This is a real problem. So they contribute to chronic inflammation, destruction of healthy microbes in the gut, an immune response in the body, tissue damage and hemorrhage, inflammatory immune mediators, prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Not good. Not good. So one of the things I try to educate people is the concept of understanding what I call fat metabolism. Each of us has a different level of fat that we can actually use and break down and be productive with. So there's a different level of fat metabolism that each of us has. One of my friends, Scott St. John, an Olympic marathoner in the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona, a marathoner, 26.2 miles. Before going off to Barcelona, he went to Colorado Springs in the Olympic Training Center and they measured his fat metabolism. They measured it. Because an athlete at that caliber has to have the right proportion of fat, protein, and carbohydrates, right? Make sense? So they measured him. Here is an Olympic marathoner. And his fat intake that he needed to have in order to have optimal performance in the Olympic Games was 125 grams of fat per day. Now that's a lot. One avocado is 30 grams of fat. So that's 4 avocados a day. Now, he's an Olympic marathoner. Anybody here? Anybody here? An Olympic marathoner? Not me. The average American consumes 161 grams of fat per person per day, more than an Olympic marathoner. That's crazy. That's crazy. A collegiate athlete will burn maybe around 60 to 80 grams of fat per day. A fit, active adult exercising 5 times or more a week is going to burn 40 to 60 grams per day. An unfit but low active adult, 20 to 40 grams per day. And if you're overweight or obese, you're burning likely less than 20 grams of fat per day. If there's one thing you measure, and I have all my clients do this, is measure how much fat is in your diet every day. And that's how that works. Works really well. Here's what happens. When we have too much fat, it stays in our bloodstream for a long period of time. Just to show you, when you have a standard American breakfast, bacon and eggs, and now what happens is that the fat not only gets into the bloodstream, but it increases in the bloodstream. The amount of units of fat increase over the course of the next 5 hours before it starts to diminish. 5 hours. And so what happens every 6 hours? People have another meal. And so it keeps going up. So that's what happens. So let's briefly talk about the major sources of fat to be aware of, because it's sneaky in the American diet. It's sneaky. Now, if you need to have the right amount of fat because you're an athlete and you're in great shape, well, then you need to have the right sources of fat. So the most egregious forms of fat that cause a lot of inflammation, all oils, including olive oil, including, I don't care how virgin the extra virgin olive oil is, all of it causes fat. And it's all 100% fat. And any foods that are fried in oil as well. We have the research. Please don't believe what you hear on Time Magazine or on Fox News or any of those news agencies, okay? It's not true, okay? Oils cause all of these issues, all of them. They damage the endothelium of the artery lining of the wall. They damage your gut. They damage so many things. So they're too purified of a substance, too purified. So don't go with oil. Dr. Esselstyn, who wrote the book Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, he says, no oil. Like that, no oil. Another thing that's going to have a lot of fat in it and many other problems as well is going to be all meats, including poultry, fish, chicken, pork, eggs, all of that's going to cause problems. In case you didn't know, in 2015, the World Health Organization's leading scientists, a big group of them, and they did a massive, massive study, and they looked at a meta-analysis of all the research, and they showed conclusively that all processed meats, sausages, hot dogs, bacon, salami, pepperoni, all of those are a class 1 carcinogen, same as plutonium, same as asbestos, and same as nicotine. They're type 1 carcinogens. What's the number one pizza that's sold to children? Pepperoni pizza. Think about it. I wrote a letter to the Sacramento Waldorf School where my son was attending once I saw this information. And I said, please do not induce cancer and heart disease and diabetes to our children. And I shared this information with them, and they stopped selling the pepperoni pizza. We all have to take responsibility for our future posterity. All other meats probably cause cancer. Probably. Would you really want to give your children food that probably causes cancer? Would that be responsible? Hear about eggs. I hear about eggs all the time. So, increases the risk of cardiovascular disease by 19%, colon cancer by 500%, diabetes by 68%, and prostate cancer by 81%. Not a good track record. All dairy, including milk, butter, cheese, yogurt, cottage cheese, and ice cream. I used to love my ice cream, I tell you. But that all has problems, and it causes cancer and leads all to other many chronic diseases. Now, if you're overweight, you need to watch your fat intake. Even healthy fats, you have to watch it, you have to limit it. Because it's easy to get sucked in by avocados. I love my avocados. Okay, one avocado is 30 grams of fat. A handful of pecans, 1 ounce of pecans in your hand, is about 22 grams of fat. So it adds up very quickly. Now, healthy fats include chia seeds and flax seeds. They're much better for you, but we'll talk more about that later. So here's a list of high-fat foods. I'm going to give this to you so you can actually look. It's too small to read. So there's a lot of different foods that are very high in fat. Another problem for us, if we're overweight, is any foods that induce inflammation, including refined sugar. It looks like a drug, and guess what? It is a drug. So we consume, again, number one in the world in consumption of sugar. We just consume so much. In the 1700s, this is how much a weekly consumption of sugar in the 1700s is 1 cube of sugar, 35 grams of sugar. In 2013, 700 grams. And for people who are drinking sodas, it goes up even more. It was surprising when I was speaking in Canada, in Niagara Falls, and I went across to the Canadian side. And I saw a store there, Ted. It was so interesting. I saw the store, and I said, oh, I need to take a picture. Because this store, they sold only one product. Sugar. Sugar Mountain. Extraordinary. That's all they sold. Sugar is a problem. It is a drug. It's a refined processed food. It's as addictive as cocaine. And yes, the font is intentional because Coca-Cola replaced the cocaine with sugar. in their formula. We now know, we have brain scans that show that sugar is even more potent at triggering the reward centers in your brain and the hippocampus than cocaine is. Sugar is stronger than cocaine. I am not suggesting that you switch over to cocaine. Okay, I'm not. So refined sugar is a time bomb. It's a ticking time bomb, causes all kinds of problems. And here's the thing about sugar. The last thing our body does with it, because it's such a refined substance, it stores it as fat. Isn't that amazing? So that's what happens. It contributes to inflammation. All the major organs are affected: the brain, the skin, the genitals, the heart, the kidneys, the joints, everything. In addition, another thing that's problematic for us is processed foods. 63% of the American diet is processed foods. They cause a tremendous amount of issue. I don't care what the marketing says. If it says lean cuisine, do not buy into that. Okay, so processed foods cause inflammation and a source of most chronic illness as well as stress. Another thing that is problematic for many people is alcohol. A lot of people enjoy their wine, they enjoy their beers, or whatever the case may be. They enjoy that. I'm not opposed to enjoying life. However, there is no safe level of alcohol. We have so much information about this now. It affects the heart. It absolutely does. We have a lot of research around this from the American Heart Association. In fact, the American Medical Association sent a letter to the United States Dietary Guidelines Committee back in 2020 and stated this, that alcohol is a known human carcinogen. There is no safe threshold for alcohol and cancer risk. That was straight from the AMA. Did it get on the news? No. So 1 bottle of wine is equivalent to 5 cigarettes in men and 10 cigarettes for women. That's the cancer equivalent. And in the UK, they actually talk about how alcohol causes 7 different types of cancer. All of them are a problem. We also have recent research from the brain doctors in Loma Linda, they're Seventh-day Adventists. These are 2 neuroscientists, Dean and Aisha Sherzai, and they showed that even 1 drink a day can damage the brain. And this is based on over 36,000 brain scans. 36,000. So we have evidence. Another thing that can contribute to problems is smoking. A lot of people think, well, if I smoke, I'll lose weight. Well, you're going to have all kinds of other problems too. So smoking is not healthy. It's all kinds of problems as well. If you know someone who wants to quit, and the data shows that 70% of the people who do smoke want to quit smoking, I recommend this book. It's a very wonderful gift. It's Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. Fantastic. Now, the kissing cousin of nicotine is? No. Nice try, though. What's that? Coffee, caffeine. Caffeine specifically is the kissing cousin of nicotine. Both nicotine and caffeine are what we call alkaloids. And by the way, alkaloids are fabulous pesticides. Did you know that? They are natural pesticides. You put coffee grounds or tobacco leaves in the garden, you will kill all the snails. They're very potent. It's amazing. So why would you want to put a pesticide in your gut? Does that make sense? Here's another issue with caffeine. It hyperstimulates your system. This is from the European Society of Cardiology, not the American College of Cardiology. No, the European Society of Cardiology. The energy drinks can cause heart problem study suggests that consumption of energy drinks leads to a significant increase in arrhythmia and up to a 500% increased risk of stroke. Just a little bit of toxin is okay? You want to think about that, because the truth about caffeine, it can cause many harmful effects and induce the body being in the sympathetic state. Here's what we have to get to. If we're going to help our body become healthier and release excess body fat, we cannot induce anything that causes our body being in the sympathetic state. Everybody with me on this? Everybody get it? So we have to induce the body being in the parasympathetic state. Now, I've given you a lot of information about what puts us in the sympathetic state, and some of you may be a little bit depressed because there are a lot of things that cause inflammation, and it's not just the diet. Stress, dehydration, sedentary lifestyle, a lack of sleep, additionally, will lead to inflammation. It additionally will. So, now that I've thoroughly depressed you, it's time for the good news, okay? So the good news is this. If we look at how the body produces energy, eating food and being able to live a healthy life, we want energy. How many of you like to have more energy and vitality in your life? Yeah, absolutely. So we have to understand how the body works. At the cellular level, we take these two complex carbohydrates, amylose and amylopectin, and convert it into this compound here called glycogen. Glycogen is then used to create this compound. It's split into a half a glucose molecule into what we call pyruvate. And then combine that with just the right amount of free fatty acids, and we're able to use these incredible organelles called mitochondria to produce the amazing energy molecule in the human body, adenosine triphosphate. This is what we want more of. More of this. We want more mitochondria because these are like pistons. So we want to create that. Now, to be able to do that, we have to understand how fat works. Fat is linked to the main fuel line in our body. You can only burn fat when you have sufficient glycogen in your cells. You can only burn fat when you have sufficient glycogen in your cells. If you're on a low-carb diet with no carbohydrates, no complex carbohydrates, you're not going to be able to burn fat. You'll lose muscle, bone, and water. So we need the right fuel. Glycogen plus fat is like gasoline and oil. It's a diesel fuel. So our body is structured like a turbo diesel Mercedes. That's how it's structured. So we need to have the right balance of fuel. Now, here's the problem that a lot of people get into. They think, I need to lose weight. I need to therefore starve myself. I need to sacrifice myself. I need to go low calorie. And they get into something that I call the red zone. So the red zone is where we have low glycogen. And when we get low glycogen, the brain says, red alert, red alert. There's not enough fuel to produce enough energy. So we need to conserve energy. Conserve energy. So what we're going to do is shut off the main fuel line, and then we go to emergency fuel. Emergency fuel. Now, in a car, you run out of gasoline, what happens? It stops, and you're done. It'd be interesting if we did that as human beings. No, we don't. We have an emergency fuel system. So the emergency fuel system is muscle protein. Muscle protein, and it's all kind of muscles, not only skeletal muscle, it's also smooth muscle, which is all through your blood vessels and all through your organs, and it's also cardiac muscle. The number one cause of death of anorexics is heart failure. Okay? Everybody with me on that? So when we get into the red zone and we start depleting our fuel supply, our body's emergency system actually causes self-harm just to stay alive. So, and then anything that we store, anything that we eat, we now store a higher percentage of it. Whatever we eat, even if it's healthy food, we will store a higher percentage of it as fat so we can survive. So what's the answer? The priority, number one, for every single one of us is to stay out of the red zone. Stay out of the red zone. Stay out of there. The red zone typically occurs in about 4 to 5 hours. How many of you have gotten hungry and you were so busy, you just pushed through it? We all do that, right? That's not a good thing. When you're hungry, it's time to eat. So fat reduction does not occur when we're in the red zone. So how do we do this? How do we manage this? Number one, the most important thing, this is what I teach every one of my people that I've worked with, and I've helped people lose tremendous amounts of weight. So number one is consistency. And we get programmed to be eating consistently from infancy. How many of you are mothers? Mothers? How many mothers here? Mothers, mothers. How many of you nursed your children? How many of you nursed your children? How often did you nurse? Every couple of hours. Interesting, isn't it? So we are programmed from infancy to be eating every couple of hours. What happens if you miss or you're late for feeding your child? They are cranky and they are crying and it's miserable. Everybody's miserable. So the thing is, we're programmed to be able to eat frequently, consistently. The second priority is to eat proactively rather than reactively. This is a big problem for many people. They have such busy lifestyles that they work. I'm too busy. I don't have time to eat. I don't have time to eat. And then they get on the way home and they say, I'm famished. Oh my God. I'll stop in at Domino's Pizza. No. The third thing is that we need to improve the quality of the food, and that means that it has a high amount of glycogen-forming carbohydrates, amylose and amylopectin, which most people don't know what they are. There's no labels on the food for them, but those are otherwise known as starch. 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 Here's what starch looks like for you and me. Whole foods, not processed foods, and plant foods, not animal foods. This is a fiber-fueled approach, and it's got all the complex carbohydrates that human beings need. Now, I'll break this down into major food groups. So number one, in fact, we show in the research, the number one food for longevity are legumes in the blue zones. Number one food, legumes. And if you're worried about being bored on this approach, there are over 22,000 species of legumes. Knock yourself out. Okay, and then there are 21 major varieties of whole grains. I've tried 16 of these, okay? So you need to get expanding your repertoire of whole grains. They're fabulous, okay? Another group are starchy vegetables. Starchy vegetables. There are over 4,000 forms of edible potatoes. I had no idea. That's just potatoes, okay? And then over 100 known varieties of squash. And then vegetables. Vegetables, over 1,000 varieties of vegetables. So many, it's amazing. It's incredible. And then fresh fruit. There are over 2,000 different varieties of fruits. Amazing. I had no idea. So extraordinary. Now, how many people like their things sweet? They like sweet things. You have a sweet tooth. How many of you have a sweet tooth? Okay, some of you do. You know who you are. All right, so there's a healthy alternative to sugar that I'm going to present to you right now, and that's date syrup. Date syrup is a whole food. Okay, it's a whole food. It's just dates and water. That's all it is. So it's a whole food. It does not have the reactions that refined sugar has. Now, the benefits of this approach are numerous. There's so many things in the research about this. In fact, there's so much that I had to put it on 2 slides. So there's so many benefits of being able to follow this approach. Here's what we have to keep in mind. When it comes to the food that we eat, it can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison, because it's either going to induce a parasympathetic or a sympathetic reaction. That's how it's going to work. So every time you eat or drink, you're either feeding disease, or you're fighting it. Now, I developed a food pyramid based on all of this information. And what I recommend is that you have about 70% of your diet come from this group, the starchy veggies, whole grains, and legumes, and then about 30% from greens, colorful veggies, and fruit. However, a hack for you, if you want to really start to release excess body fat, it's about 50-50. Go 50-50 here. And that works really well based on the work of Dr. John McDougall. So that works really well. Just to show you, there's research on this as well. In the International Journal of Disease Reversal and Prevention, when we looked at different types of diets head to head, a plant-based diet, when compared to all those other diets, scored best in long-term sustainable weight loss, long-term. Another thing that can help you to just kind of frame up about the kinds of foods that you eat, another tool that's helpful is to look at caloric density. Caloric density. So Chef AJ has this chart. I love this chart because when we look at the number of calories per pound, oils is nothing but pure fat. It's 4,000 calories per pound. 4,000 calories per pound, okay? Nuts, seeds, nut butters, and tahini, they're healthy fats, but they're also very high in fat. Chocolate, very high in fat. Refined complex carbohydrates, ice cream, bread, cheese, and sugar, also very high in fat. Avocados are a healthy fat, but also they're a little bit higher in fat. So this red line is what you want to stay to the left of. So you want to stay with the foods that are the least caloric density are non-starchy vegetables, fruits about 300 calories per pound, and then unrefined complex carbohydrates like potatoes, whole grains, and legumes are 400 to 600 calories per pound. So if you just group your food over here, you're in great shape. It's a wonderful way to eat. It works really, really well. Okay? A couple of books to help you with your diet. A couple of books. How Not to Diet is one of the recent books by Dr. Michael Greger. Outstanding, excellent material. There's actually a cookbook to go along with it. And then there's the Power Foods Diet by my friend Dr. Neil Barnard. Excellent, excellent material. How many of you get hungry before you go to bed? Okay, so I want to talk about that because that's an issue for many people. So there's an impact of late meals before going to bed. So what we show in the data is that your time of sleep will be reduced. Your REM sleep, your rapid eye movement, which is where you dream and consolidate your memories, will be decreased as well a little bit, and your recovery will be diminished as well. You don't really want to go to bed hungry. You want to time your meals so that you don't go to bed still while being hungry. So you want to time it so that you're not hungry. Don't eat right before you go to bed, but eat early enough, but not too late. So foods to avoid before bedtime. Caffeine, certainly. Heavy meals, acidic or spicy foods, sugar or refined carbohydrates, alcohol, and going to bed hungry. So you want to avoid that. So at all costs, try to eat usually 90 minutes to 2.5 hours before you go to bed. That's what you want to be able to eat if you are one of those people that gets hungry before going to bed. Foods that will help you to actually improve your sleep. Complex carbohydrates release serotonin to calm you before bed. And then protein-rich foods will actually keep you feeling full until the morning. So these are very helpful. All right. I got lots more, but I'm just going to go very quickly. The other things. Exercise, absolutely. Absolutely, we need to exercise. The purpose of exercise is not to burn calories. Is not to burn calories. I love this cartoon. Okay? So how cardiovascular exercise truly works is about building your cellular mitochondria. That's what it's all about. Being able to change the physiology of your cells. That's what we're trying to do with cardiovascular exercise. We know from the research that if we induce the right amount of cardiovascular exercise, we can get more mitochondria and bigger mitochondria. That's a good thing. So what gives people power? Is it money? Is it status? No, it's mitochondria. Yes. So we want to begin with mastering the first level of cardiovascular exercise, which is aerobic exercise. That means it's not Jane Fonda's aerobics, okay? So it means that you can breathe comfortably at all times. Now, aerobic exercise, what you want to be able to have is mastery of this level. Don't try to do anything advanced at first. So master this. Begin slowly from wherever you are. So if you haven't been walking, start off walking. Start off walking. Walking is one of the best exercises, and we show a lot of research on the values of extended walking. Really makes a difference. Your goal, if you want to release excess body fat, is to move up to, eventually, 6 days a week. 6 days a week. I just started a new client, and he said, I'm already walking. I said, how many days a week are you walking? He said, 3 days a week. I said, you're holding steady. That's all you're doing. You're maintaining with 3 days a week. So you have to move up to 6 days a week. The intensity, ideally, is vigorous. It's enough that you can breathe comfortably, but barely. That's where you want to get to, but it depends on each and every one of you. Everybody's different. You want to pay attention to how you're breathing. That will tell you more information than anything else. The American College of Sports Medicine talks about the perceived level of exertion. So if you're able to breathe comfortably and you're still able to get your oxygen, you're not running out of breath, you're doing fine. That's what you want to be able to do. The formulas don't always work, so don't trust that. Everybody's a little different. All you need to get started, your goal is to get up to 20 minutes a day, 6 days a week. Now, in lifestyle medicine, we actually want you to do a little bit more. We want to get an extra 10 minutes in. So we want to be able to do 150 minutes per week. That's ideal. You can do almost anything for exercise. As long as you get as many muscles involved as possible, that's ideal. Walking is excellent. Swimming, as long as you know how to swim, is excellent. I'm going to have to teach you later. We're going to have to start your swimming lesson afterwards. All right, so you have to get going with that. Whatever works for you. I had one of my students years ago. She was on the national double Dutch jump rope championship jump rope team. She lived in Harlem, and she was amazing. And so what she went back to was jump roping for her cardiovascular exercise. And she could do it for 20 minutes. Amazing. That's extraordinary. Oh, she got into shape really fast. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing is increasing your strength. This is critical. This is critical for so many reasons. Most of us, as we age, we get weaker, we lose muscle mass, and we lose our balance, and then we have falls, and that's horrible. So we don't want that to happen. So it's very important that we increase our strength. Anybody can get stronger. It improves our balance and many other things. So anybody can do total body workouts. There's many ways to do it. I don't know what happened with my picture there. It grew. I'll have to fix that. So one of the best ways to do exercises, I'm going to send you a video and send you some resources on this, is to use stretch bands. One of the safest ways to improve your strength and being able to do it safely with every body part. You can do this. Wonderful. Another strength exercise that's great for balance and for strength and flexibility is yoga. It's just wonderful. It's fabulous. It really works very, very well. Many different forms of yoga. Now, the fourth thing of this four-prong approach is absolutely, probably the most important part of this entire four-prong approach. And it's the simplest. I saved the best for last. So the most important place to start for any of you is your hydration. It's your hydration. Approximately 2/3 of your body is made up of water. You can absorb about 1 cup of water within a period of time, about 15 minutes. So it absorbs very quickly. Our body is designed so beautifully that when we're thirsty, we put some water in our gut, and our stomach sucks it in like a big sponge. It's amazing how fast it absorbs the water. You can drink 3/4 to a full gallon of water a day without any complications whatsoever. You should be going to the bathroom frequently, every hour to hour and a half. So you want to be able to go frequently. If you're going, 1.5 to 2 hours, you're doing fine. You want to be doing that. If you're only going to the bathroom once or twice a day, not good. So you need to make sure you have plenty of water. Really important. Now, the research shows this. From the Adventist Health Study, shows that 5 glasses of water, a mere 40 ounces of water, actually decreased the risk of stroke and heart attack by 50%. 50%. The leading killer in the United States, over 650,000 deaths a year. And we could cut that in half simply by having people drinking 40 ounces of water. Shouldn't this be on CNN and Fox News every night? I think so. If our country really cared about health, we'd be having paid advertising for this information. This would be the case. Now, when it comes to losing weight and excess body fat, a clinical study. This is a randomized 12-week clinical study, highest level of clinical study. We took 2 groups of people. One group, we gave them 2 cups of water before their meals. And they experienced a 44% greater rate of weight loss. That puts Jenny Craig, oh yeah, they went out of business. Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, and Medifast completely out of business. Completely, 44% greater rate. That's amazing. So excellent effectiveness, and it works all the time. So the way to get your water in, I want you to think of a few things. Water is essential for everything in your body. A minimum of 1 ounce per pound of body weight per day if you weigh less than 96 pounds. Up to 128 ounces per day. Now, don't do it all at once. Gradually increase from wherever you are. Just gradually increase. Now, you may need to increase your sodium if it's a dramatic increase for you, or you may need to decrease if you have kidney or heart disease. If you have any of that, come and see me. Now, to get you to 96, you need to think about very small habits. Here's a way to break it up. And I recommend this. Number 1, drink 2 8-ounce glasses of water first thing in the morning, every morning. First thing. That hydrates your brain. You don't need the caffeine. You don't need the caffeine. Okay? Drink a glass of water before and after each meal. Drink 2 glasses of water before your workout and 2 glasses of water after workout. That'll get you to 96 ounces. So that's an easy way to break it up. In addition, you can also eat your water. How many of you like to flavor your water? How many of you like flavored water as opposed to just straight water? Okay, so then you can put this in your water. Cut up some cucumber and some lemon and some lime, put that in a pitcher and let it soak overnight. So you can eat your water as well. Here's the key. Go to the bathroom frequently and check your pee. Check the color of your pee. It should be pale yellow to clear. That's how you know you're hydrated enough. If it's amber or dark brown, you're not hydrated enough. An excellent book to help you in terms of putting all these 4 pieces together is by my friend Robert Cheek. He wrote this book called Shred It, How to Get in Excellent Shape, your step-by-step guide to burning fat and building muscle on a whole food, plant-based diet. Excellent book. Now, how many of you use a scale at home? Stop using the scale. Stop it. Okay? The number before you on the scale will vary each day and multiple times throughout the day. Try not to go crazy. Try hard. Too many people have emotional attachments to a number. It's not important. The scale will not tell you what a great person you are. It will not tell you how much your friends and family love you. It will not tell you that you can make a stranger melt with your smile. And it will not tell you that you have the power to choose your happiness. Too many people give too much power to the scale. Don't do that. I actually had a client. Every morning, she would get on the scale and then call her best friend. And so if they both lost weight, they would celebrate. If one lost weight, the other gained weight, the one who lost weight would console the one who gained weight. If they both gained weight, they would have a pity party. Don't do that. The scale is only a raw number. It does not tell you your body composition at all. So don't go there. You need to understand how effective fat loss actually works. It occurs in 4 major phases. And it's different for each one of us. So it requires consistency and patience. When I coached my swimmers, I actually measured their body composition every single month because I wanted them to gain muscle and lose excess body fat. They're athletes. So one of my athletes, Brittany, and I measured her, and this is an example of what happened. So when she started with me, she came in 5'8", 145 pounds. 105 pounds of lean muscle and 40 pounds of fat. She was not in good shape. She was a little out of shape, and she wanted to get in better shape. And I said, okay, well, here's what you're going to do with your diet and your hydration and everything else and your strength work. And then I'm going to measure your body composition. So the first month, what typically happens when you start eating well and drinking your water is that your body is going to regenerate muscle very quickly. So she gained 2 pounds of muscle right off the bat in the first month. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a wonderful thing. But the machinery had not been built up enough to be able to burn excess body fat. So the fat stayed the same. But what did the scale do? It went up by 2 pounds, a net increase. And here's what most people do. They start doing the right things. They start exercising, eating really well, hydrating, everything that they need to be able to do the exercise and strength work. And then they get on the scale. And they say, oh my God, I've been doing exactly what Coach Ruben taught me to do. And my scale went up 2 pounds? This diet sucks. I quit. How many of you know the feeling? Liars, raise your hands. Now, the next month, she gained another 2 pounds of muscle. Good thing or a bad thing? Excellent. And then her machinery kicked in to start burning fat. She burned 2 pounds of body fat. Net change on the scale? 0. Still at 147. God, 2 months on this program? Coach Ruben, you suck. This isn't working. But I feel better. I look better. I have more energy. I quit. The next month, she gained 1 more pound of muscle. Good thing or bad thing? Good thing. And she lost another 2 pounds of body fat. Excellent. Net change on the scale? A measly 1 pound? 1 pound? 3 months? And I'm still 1 pound heavier than when I started? I quit. Don't quit.
What method are you using to measure her body composition?
I'll tell you that in a minute. I'll come to that. It's a bioelectric impedance. Now, here's what happened. You don't gain body muscle forever. It levels off. So then she started to accelerate her burning of fat, completely changing her body composition. She went down to 146, 143, 140. Here's what I want you to realize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, she had increased her lean muscle by 5 whole pounds. She had burned 10 pounds of body fat. That's a 15-pound body composition change, completely different. This is a radical change. This is the kind of change that persists and it sticks. It's amazing. This is how it works when it's done correctly. So don't trust the scale. Please do not. In order to do this right, you need to be measuring particular data. You need to be at least measuring these 4 numbers: your total weight, your percentage body fat, your fat mass, and your lean mass. What I recommend for all of you, I'm going to send you information in the email, is that you get a medical grade bioelectric impedance device from Omron. This is a trusted name in the medical community. I have this. I didn't bring mine with me today. But it's absolutely phenomenal. It's wonderful. So it works really well. And just to show you that I've been doing this myself, this is a picture of me from 5 years ago. 194 pounds, 19.7% body fat, 36.4% muscle, visceral fat of 66, and physical age of 30. 30. How many of you would like to get younger? How many of you would like to get younger? You can. You can if you follow the right approach. So you want to be able to get younger. So you want to be able to recognize that there's a different percentage body fat for everybody. These are generalized scales and guides and charts. But the right percentage of body fat varies for each and every one of us. I like to use the mirror test. The mirror tells you, you know when you look good and you feel good, don't you? You know that. You know it. So you want to be able to follow this approach like these people did. So in summary, this four-prong approach to get you started. There's more, but this is to get you started. Number 1 is hydration. Make sure you've got clear yellow, light yellow to clear pea, all right? Nutrition, eat to the left of the red line. Focus on a whole food, plant-based diet. Stay there with very clean food. Cardio, build your mitochondria. Consistently. And then strength work, build the demand for energy. And it's all about making progress, and it's not about perfection. And I have 2 people that I'd like to share very briefly very briefly from working with me and what that's been like. So, John, would you share very briefly what this approach has done? When did we first meet and share from that point?
Yeah. I met Ruben about 12 years ago, and a vegan group came to a location where I had a gallery, and I met Ruben, and I was 70 pounds heavier than I am now. And so you act like, oh, he got 70 pounds off 12 years ago and kept it. No, I've had a lot of little bounces up and down, but I've always been able to regroup with Ruben and get back on the model, either going to his evolving health classes or personal coaching or videos that he sends me and discussing. So that's quite a success story, 70 pounds lighter 12 years later. Well, I'll share about something even better than that. When I met Ruben, I was going to oncologists and kidney doctors, and my platelets were at danger for leukemia. I was going every year. I went every year for like 6 or 8, 10 years. They're getting ready for biopsies. 2 years after I was with Ruben, I went to my oncologist. Oh, I had an enlarged spleen, and I waited in the room. He came out and he goes, I don't know what you've been doing, but your spleen is back to normal, and your platelets are normal. And that was 12 years ago, and I've never been back to one of those doctors since.
Thank you. Thank you. Ted, would you be so kind to share briefly?
I started off, I ended up with Agent Orange cancer, stage 3. And my wife, many years ago, we just went on the diet. And I was supposed to go into chemo. And the doctor checked me, and he says, you're in remission. And I see the doctor basically every 6 months. And he says, Ted, it's nice to meet you, but when it comes to cancer, you're boring. And so it's completely gone. He says, if I showed it to any other radiologist, he never knew. After which I've had 5 spinal operations because of combat injuries. And it got to the point where I couldn't move. And I gained possibly, well, I'm 45 pounds lighter now. It's been about a year. But the difference between the first and the second is Ruben taught us the whole life. He showed me the science behind it, which helps me to stay on it. It's not easy all the time. I love ice cream, and it's funny, my taste buds are back. I used to be on 36 pills, gone. I'd take half a blood pressure pill. My memory was going, and lo and behold, I'm remembering old jokes. It's coming back. I couldn't believe that. I'm happier. I think Joan is happier too. But all around, I'm tasting more, I'm seeing better. It's just my whole body is kind of taking control from everything that I had in me, and it's cleaning it out, and I'm healing myself. So that's motivation to keep going, you know. And to basically, I found getting old, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. With my memory loss, not being able to communicate with people, forgetting things. Now I know where my keys are. and finances and stuff like that. So a lot of that, it's slow, but it's coming back. And just like Ruben said, it's the way we're supposed to be, I guess. But it's nice to be off the pills. I still can't, because of the surgeries, I can't exercise as much, but I'm focused to start doing it more and more and more and more.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you. So this works. It works if you work it. It is not an easy path, but you got to make progress. You got to commit. I'm not going to kid you about it. It takes commitment. It really does. So how many of you, what's that? Having a wife like yours? Yes, having a wife like Joan helps. So how many of you would like to make the rest of your life the best of your life? Wonderful. Imagine what would that look like for you. Would it be that you're having a life that's filled with fun and activity and joy and vitality, being able to do great things and being able to dance with your loved one on the beach, okay, with health and fun and energy and vitality? So the question is, where are you now? Are you there yet? Chances are you're not, just based on plain statistics. But how will you get from where you are now to where you want to be? You need a plan, just like anything else in life. You need a plan. But do you have a plan that's actually proven to work? Most people do not. That's why they fail. They go to their doctors, they go to a program, and they try to get a plan going, but that doesn't always work. So I have a plan, and I'm living proof of that because I share with you my story at the beginning. So there's 4 steps to actually creating a thriving, healthy, happy life and being able to have it be permanent in your life. Number 1, we have to begin from within. We must start up here. We have to rewire the subconscious mind. If we don't do that, we will repeat our pattern of behavior. Second, we need a proven strategy because doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results, is the definition of insanity. Let's not go there. Third, we need to develop the skills of how to develop habits that stick for a lifetime. And there's a science behind this. I will teach you that. And then the fourth thing is that we need to be able to create a network of support and accountability. We know from studying the blue zones, one of the most important factors in longevity is the strength of positive social connections. Isn't that amazing? It's one of the most important factors for longevity. So when we're done with this series, I will be sending you information. I'm going to be launching probably right after Labor Day. It's going to be my 12-week lifestyle medicine immersion program. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. I'll have my book done by then. It's going to be exciting. In addition to that, I also do lifestyle medicine consultations for people. I do this anytime. I get you set up with a plan. And then I also do one-on-one coaching. You may recognize that's John right back there. So I set people up with one-on-one coaching so that they can actually succeed and win. I also do lifestyle and performance medicine in the workplace, one of my favorite things to do in transforming organizations. This is my contact information, so you'll have that. And then this is one of my favorite quotes, and that life is not a journey to the grave, with the intention to arrive safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride. So my hope for all and each and every one of you is to be able to do that. And by the way, that's the picture of my son, number 3, Gabriel, surfing there. So we covered a lot of territory today, a lot of practices. So my intention for you is to actually realize that you need all of these practices. You can't focus on just doing one thing. It doesn't work. So it's a very multifaceted approach. Okay. Questions? Anything from anybody? Anything at all? Questions? Anything? Yes. Dark chocolate. So you can have anything in moderation. This is very slight moderation, but you have to think about it. So here's a good question for you. Are you responsible for your health in your life? Yeah. Very good. Are there consequences to every choice that you make? Yeah. Very good. So my invitation to you is consider the consequences. Simple enough? Okay, very good, very good. Who else? Question here. What is wrong with eggs? Well, first of all, that's the embryo of a chicken. Okay, so it's an embryo of another species of animal. Okay, there's no design in human design to actually be eating eggs. If you think about it, we're not designed to do that. Our teeth and our molars and our digestive system is not designed to handle that. They're very high in cholesterol, very high in fat. And the cholesterol that we induce from eating eggs actually disrupts our natural hormone regulation. So one of the things that happens, how many of you have had horrible symptoms with menopause? Okay, a few women have their hands up. Okay, one of the reasons for that is from having excess cholesterol in the diet. Because cholesterol is the grandmother of all the steroidal hormones in your body. So the moment you introduce cholesterol into your body, now what happens, your brain has to re-regulate the steroidal hormonal balance. And it becomes very tricky, and that's why a lot of women end up having a lot of hot flashes and other kinds of symptoms as a result of that. So in addition, it's a 500% increased risk of colon cancer. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, all right. Question. All right, Bobby's got the microphone over there.
It's not really a question. I'm
Oh.
just throwing out that there's ways there's great recipes, and maybe you're going to share some,
Yeah.
where you can make an egg-like made out of plant-based materials.
Yeah.
It tastes really great.
Yeah.
I was just saying that, and I'm sure Ruben's going to share something, but there's ways you can make an egg-type meal using plant-based material, ingredients,
Yeah,
sorry.
you can.
And then black salt on.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, everything that you have been eating can be completely changed over and substituted with plants. And absolutely delicious. Of course, the secret is spices. Secret. Yeah. Who else? Yes, question here.
Kids, and some are pretty big and eat everything, and I have one that is like super skinny, and she can eat more than everyone else. So what's the difference between them?
Yeah. So there's many variations in terms of metabolism, and some children can eat just about everything under the sun, and they remain skinny. So remember I showed you the graph of the 3 mice that had no bacteria in their guts, and then we introduced the skinny bacteria, and they remained skinny? Okay, so her microbiome is suited for her to remain skinny. Now, it may not always be that way. If she changes her diet, it could go a different route. How many of you were really skinny as athletes, and then you got really overweight when you changed your lifestyle? That was me. Okay, so that's something that can happen. When stress happens and lifestyle circumstances happen, then that can change the microbiome, therefore change the genetic expression. And vice versa. Yeah, absolutely. Very good question. Yeah. Who else? Yes.
Measuring body composition with a scale. I just bought an Arbo leaf scale on Amazon that was recommended by someone that I follow on YouTube, who I think a lot of. I haven't hooked it up yet. You have to connect it to your Wi-Fi and so forth, but it sends waves through your body and it tells you percentage of fat, muscle, et cetera.
I'm not familiar with
You
that.
don't know
Is
that?
it medical grade? Because Omron is.
No, it wasn't super expensive.
Don't go cheap. Don't go cheap. Yeah. Yeah. It's considered the standard from many years ago, but the new standard now is the DEXA scan. But that's expensive. Yeah. Question over there.
Do you have different renditions of this talk that are different lengths so that if we pay you to come to a group that it could be shorter?
Sure, absolutely. I can custom tailor anything. Okay.
So
who
we'll
else?
take one more
One
question.
more question.
And then
one
we're
more
going to
question.
wrap up, close the feed, and then
Yeah.
I know Ruben will stay as long as there's
I will stay.
additional
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Anybody else? Questions? Anything? Anything at all?
Okay.
You're welcome. One more question here. One more question here. Yes. Okay.
Talking about caffeine and coffee.
Mm-hmm.
If a person drinks organic coffee, Swiss water processed, decaffeinated, is it still bad?
There's no bad or good. Everything is a matter of consequences to your choices, as I was explaining to her. So, yeah. So you have to look at the total picture. Now, for instance, we all induce a sympathetic state in our body when we exercise, but it's temporary. Caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours. Now, if something is decaf, does not mean that it's uncaffeinated. By law, the Federal Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has guidelines that say you can label a product as decaf if it has 10% less caffeine. Did you know that? Just so you know. So it doesn't mean it's uncaffeinated. That doesn't mean it's tricky marketing. Oh, it's decaf. There's no caffeine. I'm safe. No. You might want to find out. Do the research. Do the research. But the thing is, caffeine is an alkaloid. It absolutely has detrimental effects on the body. I was addicted to caffeine. I'll just tell you my personal story. Because I had done the experiments on caffeine and nicotine. I knew what it was. I knew what it did. But I was in medical school and I got addicted to caffeine. I needed to stay awake every weekend for my exams on Monday mornings, every Monday. So I got addicted to it. And then it finally got to a point where I started noticing something very interesting. I would drink the Mountain Dew. I didn't play small. I went maximum sugar and caffeine. And my eyes started, the blood vessels in my eye and the retina started to rupture. And I had floaters in my visual field. And that kind of freaked me out. And so I said, okay, I have a sneaky suspicion I know what this is. So I cut the caffeine for a week. The floaters went away. I said, okay, I'm going to be a scientist. I'm going to test this. So I reintroduced the Mountain Dew. 1 cup of Mountain Dew. 2 hours later, floaters in my visual field. That did it for me. Like, okay, if that's happening in my retina, what's happening in the rest of my body? That's not good news. I already have high blood pressure going. That's not good. So there's consequences to every choice we make. You get to choose. Thank you. I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you for the courage it takes to be here. A lot of people, they see the title, Lose Weight, Feel Great, and they say, there's no way I'm going into a room with other people that are overweight like me. There's no way I'm going to do that because it feels uncomfortable, because I know what that feels like. But I want you to know that you're safe with me because I know your pain. I know what it's like. And I'm so, so proud of each and every one of you for being here. Thank you for being here. Please support me in my mission to eliminate chronic disease from the face of the planet, and share this information with other people that you meet. I'm here to serve each and every one of you. So thank you. Thank you. Bonnie.
Thank you, Ruben. Our next session is on the 21st.
2 weeks.
And it's on stress management.
Yes.
Very
yes.
important topic. So don't miss that. Invite some friends, share. We'll have it on, Ruben always has these on his Facebook. We'll have it on the church Facebook. So go ahead and share those as well and invite some other people. Same location, yes. Same location, 6:30. We got a little later start tonight just because we had to get the live stream up, but 6:30 start next week. Since you're at a church, I want to leave you with a prayer and a blessing. Dear Heavenly Father, as Ruben said, you are the designer, the divine designer, and we thank you for what you've designed. Be with us in all of our journeys as we try to maximize that, as we try to eliminate disease and honor your